I don't know about you, but for me, sound selection is the most time-consuming part of the music production process. Honestly, it's at the point where I'm using the same plugins and presets basically every time because I know what I'm gonna get as soon as I open it. So I'm super excited that my friend Dark Winter just dropped his first sample pack that's specifically tailored for sleepy lo-fi. He actually sent it over to me to check out, and I figured the best way to put it to the test is to find out if having a sample pack specifically tailored to the type of music I'm trying to make is actually gonna help speed up my workflow. So to put that to the test, I'm gonna be giving myself 1 hour to make as much of a lo-fi song as I can using only sounds from Dark Winter's Euphoria Sleepy Lo-Fi collection. So without further ado, 1 hour begins now. Let's see what we can do.
1 hour later.
I fucked up. I just recorded for an entire hour and realized that I wasn't recording my screen. So I've got a bunch of silent footage that looks like this. Lots of reverb there. So instead of going back and remaking a track in an hour, which I think would actually be a more fair demonstration of this pack, I'm unfortunately just gonna walk you through just like usual and give you a breakdown of what I came up with 1 hour on the clock. So let's start kind of in the order that I laid this down. I figured that I should keep it musically pretty simple since I was on the clock and I didn't have a ton of time, so I just wanted to keep it in C major. I shopped around the first section of the pack, which is this really nice set of Serum presets that he's got. He's got everything from arps, bells, a couple of drum sounds, some effects, a bunch of keys, some leads, pads, and plucks. So really everything that you'd possibly need out of a synth. I shopped through the key section at first, tried out a few pretty nice presets here, and landed on the one called Fave Rhodes. It's got this pretty nice kind of classic warm Rhodes tone to it. And I just kind of laid down a really simple chord progression. I at first recorded it in, and then I quantized it all just to, you know, make it sound a little bit cleaner. By itself, this was the first layer I came up with here. So just a nice simple 8-bar loop. I brought in this G major 7 here to spice it up. I didn't want just a 4-bar loop, so just a slight switch, almost like kind of Christmassy, maybe like a winter feel to it when that G major 7 comes in. But other than that, it's essentially just a 4-bar loop with a varied 3rd chord and a 2nd repeat. From there, I went into another Serum preset on a pluck that I ended up liking quite a bit. It's the Snowfall-ish sounds, got a good little delay. So I laid that up with the Rhodes, and that sounds like this. So I initially had that mixed way louder. You can hear it like this. But as I added elements, I thought that was getting a little bit busy, so I decided to simplify that a bit. On the bass, I ventured into another part of the pack here where he's got a nice one-shot kit. There's a bunch of melodic one-shots, everything from keys, synths, basses, plucks, some really nice synthy stuff, and a piano lead that I ended up playing around with a good bit later. But what I ended up using for the bass was this sleepy bass. One thing was that it wasn't quite long enough for a full 60 BPM whole note, so I had to get a little bit more creative than just simply following the roots. So I had a couple of transition notes, a couple of repeat notes, but those things layered up together for just a nice full foundation to build on. I'm really excited about this bass because bass is probably the thing that I do the least experimenting with, so it's nice to have something that I'll be able to plug in pretty faithfully without too much trouble. From there, I actually took a peek over at the drum loops section that he's got here. Yeah, the deep sleep drum loops. There's a whole bunch of options here. listened through a few, and ended up landing on this key option. And one thing I did mention as I was going through, the really nice thing is that he included all of the individual stems for the drum loops. It can be frustrating trying to work with drum loops when you only want certain parts, or when you're trying to arrange it out, or you just do a little bit of EQ processing. So I'm always happy to see individual drum loops. After breaking that out into stems, it did have a snare originally, or a kick originally, that I wasn't quite a super fan of for this track anyway. And then it also had an extra shaker layer, so I ended up pulling both of those out and adding my own drum samples from the drum one-shots, which you got in the Late Nights drum kit. In the Late Nights kit, there's ambience, effects, hi-hats, kicks, open hats, shakers, and snares. For this track, I ended up laying in a new kick, an additional snare layer, a ghost snare layer, and then a couple of open hats. And then I also went in and I found a vinyl sound to just kind of play throughout the track, lock it into that lo-fi feel. So with drums, it started sounding much more like a full track here. Beyond that, I went into the effects section. There's a bunch of like chimes, a couple of lasers, a lot of different kind of risers and transition sounds. This nice rain stick that I ended up laying in there. A couple of just white noise sweeps. Really a pretty good diverse set of samples here that I had a lot of fun clicking through. I ended up burning a good bit of my hour playing around with those effects. I settled on two. I've got a kind of classic white noise sweep, and then, like I said, that rain stick that I make super low, just because obviously this isn't mastered and everything is pretty quiet to begin with. And then on top of that, I popped into the Foley loops, these deep sleep Foley loops. There's a couple of kind of more like structured rhythmic brush loops in here, some shaker loops, but the thing that really caught my eye were these soft branches and the soft keys. They feel like a little bit more haphazard. They're definitely rhythmic, so they're not gonna just like be super distracting, but this like slightly more haphazard feel, real kind of classic Foley, just something kind of like sit in the background and give, particularly the intro is what I felt like was missing it, but to just add a little bit of extra like kind of life and motion there. So I basically just kind of had that fading in, and then we hit the drop and it sticks around for the rest of the track. Right about when there were maybe like 5 minutes left, I was realizing that I hadn't added any pads yet, so I popped back into the Serum presets, found 2 pad layers I liked. This is the Beautiful preset, Pad Beautiful. There's some nice, automation, good motion, it evolves well. I actually did end up doing a little bit of processing to these, so let's give you guys a sense of what they sound like by themselves. So it's just some nice flutter, good motion built in. And then the pad soft. Very nice, subtle, quiet, kind of ringing sound there. So I routed those together, did a little bit of extra EQing, and then did some, just LFO driven volume automation so that they'd come up and down in the mix. All those things together, basically the beat I actually came up with in the hour. Sounded like this, and then I'll also unmute this improv key thing. I didn't really have time to come up with like a true, honest lead melody, so I just found this one shot that I really, really love in the one shot pack, and just kind of scooted over there and kind of jammed out to the beat to try to come up with some kind of type of top line melody. So in 1 hour, big takeaway, or I might even just cut my actual takeaway in after we give this a listen, but long story short, this is what I was able to come up with in 1 hour. So I hope you can appreciate that. Obviously, I wouldn't like publish the improv keys as the final version of the song, but there were a couple ideas in there that I probably would go back and try to clean up, maybe embellish on a little bit, and definitely give a little bit more space and make sure my notes, you know, were in the key. So unfortunately, because the screen recording did not work, I obviously don't have footage of me going through the whole pack. There is a pretty nice full walkthrough available on the website, linked in the description. I am going to pass it back to the version of myself that thought that the screen recorder worked, to give you guys my impression of both the pack and how I thought this little experiment went. So thanks for sticking around. Back to you. Anyway, yep. All right. Long story short, I actually think that went fairly well. You know, I think as I was working into it, I realized I didn't love the chord progression I landed on. But that's on me, obviously. I think as far as the mission goes, 1 hour to be this deep into a track is actually pretty good for me. I feel like I'm generally spending a lot of time laboring over chord progressions that I like or trying to find melodies. Obviously, I was working with the clock and trying to be productive and being pretty deliberate with making choices quickly. But all that being said, I feel like those kind of rush choices landed me on some sounds that I was pretty happy, both melodically and with the drums. And all things together, I think that this sample pack is actually going to be a time saver for me, right? Like, everything that I clicked on maybe wasn't right for this song, but there's nothing that I was like, this doesn't even make sense being a sleepy sample pack. So I didn't feel like I was wasting my time. I was really just kind of shopping for like, what is the exact thing I'm looking for in this moment? And I could see it being a really useful part of my production. So all that being said, big shout out to Dark Winter for sending me the pack over. If you guys are interested in grabbing it yourself, there is a link in the description where you can purchase it and start cooking it just like this, hopefully without any time restrictions and full creative control to just really explore the pack. There's over 400 sounds in this pack. Like I said, it's got a few different sort of sub packs in the bundle. I think all of them are fantastic. One thing that I didn't really get to touch on here is that it does have these MIDI cheat codes. They've got hi-hat, kick, and snare MIDIs that you can drag into, use your own sounds or the sounds from this kit to get some inspiration for your own drum grooves if you're not necessarily feeling the ones that come in the loops. So definitely grab a copy of Euphoria, Sleepy Lo-Fi Collection by Dark Winter down in the description. It's a really great pack, honestly. I think it's going to be a nice inclusion of Sleepy Lo-Fi, something you're interested in making yourself. Let me know if you end up picking it up and you make something. Feel free to send it over in the Discord. I would definitely love to hear what you guys come up with, hopefully with a little bit more time than I had. Also, I should probably apologize for my unexplained hiatus if you're someone that is routinely coming to the channel and checking out the new videos I post. First of all, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. I just want to apologize for not being around for basically the past month. Life has been getting crazy busy, as I'm sure everyone is familiar with, happens from time to time. I do want to continue making YouTube videos, but unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be able to promise weekly videos, or at least not quite as consistently as I have been in the past. I'm planning to come on, make a video when I have something worth sharing with you, or maybe I've got a little bit of time and I'm feeling inspired. So if there's anything that you guys want to see me cover in a future video, it really helps when I'm planning to pick something that I know people are going to want to watch. So let me know in the comments, let me know in the Discord what you'd like to see me do, what you'd like me to try to help you with. That's really the thing that I like doing the most about this, is it's an opportunity to show you guys something that you might not have known, or offer my perspective on something that you might be interested in hearing. So if there's anything kind of in that umbrella or universe that you'd be interested in hearing from me in a future video, definitely let me know down in the comments or in the Discord server. So that is actually all I've got for you. And I wish I could say I would see you next week, but I'm not sure I can make that promise. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. I hope we'll see you next time. Peace. When you go to end the YouTube video and you realize you forgot to screen record the whole time, so you're just recording for over an hour and now you have no video to make the video with, isn't that isn't that the best, dude? Oh my god, dude, what a classic, dude. Oh.